All right. Well, it is my pleasure to be here with the voice of Hostage, Chris Freeze. How you doing, Chris?
What's up? Hanging in?
Now, the first thing, I was thinking about you, and your whole career kind of culminated with, your work on Hostage. I found this picture and I wanted to ask, I was thinking earlier today, there's a picture of you and I, on the set of another film. It's called, Reluctant Justice. Now, what do you get recognized on the street more for? Your work on Hostage? Or your work as the bad guy stunt driver who dies in a Reluctant Justice?
It's not even a close contest. It's Reluctant Justice. It's on the daily. I can't walk the streets. You have to also understand, in Reluctant Justice, was the stunt driving was elite level. Remember, I got shot in the head, so I had to have my head leaning on the steering wheel, and then the camera would come back to the, and I gotta get up and then steer, and then go back down into the prone dead position, with eyeballs kind of staring off, while I had all the people in the car somehow still surviving.
The funny part was that, when I shot Hostage, of course, it's shot digitally. So I've got, I can go and actually reference any of these shots from the movie. And right when I saw that picture of us, I thought about your clip would have been perfect. I mean, I'm going to have to see if I can digitize it or whatever. But yeah, you were driving, you get shot, and then you go back up, and then you then you drive again, and then you're dead because the camera was whipped into whatever. And I'm trying to think in the scene. Of course, it's been a few years. I think that movie was 1995, but who shot you? Did I shoot you from behind? Did I shoot you from the trunk? I was in the trunk at the time. Or I just wonder, I'm how did your character get shot?
It sounds like something you would do to me. I can't pinpoint exactly, but that tracks. That tracks.
Well, the funny part is, again, here's this picture, and this was I was in the trunk because I was taken hostage of my character, was taken hostage by you, being a bad person. But I'm actually in the back of an open trunk driving on a regular street. It wasn't like a real, the big budget movies where they block off the streets. So I'm in the back doing my acting. We got the director of photography shooting from that Jeep behind us. And it's oddly enough, we get pulled over by the cops. And that's what that picture is from. I still think it was your crazy driving.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just a misunderstanding, because clearly I was 10 and 2, rules of the road. I was even using arm signals as I was being shot.
And I'm waving a gun in the back of the car. What could happen? That was the scene too where you drove in, and I actually had a stunt double who was also our sound man, and he flung out of the car. Did you also drive during the stunt portion?
I can't remember. Geez, like you said, that was 30 odd years ago. But I can't remember. I probably did. I mean, I wore a few hats in that, for the cause.
Those were the good days. Now, of course, I mean, we're joking, but you're into voiceovers. Thank you again for lending the sultry tones to some of the Hostage trailers. I clearly owe you your agent a lot of money, because I think I've used it on quite a few of the reels. But the thing that's really interesting, I think, for everyone is you actually have a career in voiceover. And I mean, everyone's always like, that's got to be the greatest job in the world. Now, I think the interesting thing also, from you, what you can tell is it's not like an overnight thing, but how did you get into it? How did you first think, hey man, I want to do this for a living?
God, out of college, I worked at the college radio station, doing that, and that was a lot of fun. And I didn't really know that voiceover was a thing back then, but I did learn that there was one of the guys who was an on-air personality was doing some or trying to get into voiceover, and that's when I even learned that it was a thing. I never even gave it much thought as to voices for commercial or promos or animation or video games or whatever, but. Um, Found out about it and just kind of, put a pin in that, but wanted to be this on-air
Yeah.
radio guy.
Yeah.
And, so I was kind of focused in that area. And, while I was trying to, get into radio, I was picking up some odd jobs just to try to, make ends meet. And I picked up a Parks and Recreation of all things, to do, organizing softball leagues, things like that.
Mm.
And while I was waiting for the big radio break, and the big radio break never really came, but but inexplicably my Parks and Rec career catapulted. So for like 10 years, I'm doing Parks and Rec stuff and promoting, and it's honestly it's slowly but surely killing my soul, the bureaucracy of municipal
Yes.
government. And then I was ultimately, scandalously let go in about 2004. And it was kind of like it was time to go because I was not
Mm.
having any kind of fulfillment with this. And I was watching or listening to this morning radio show. KROQ had Kevin and Bean in the morning, and one of the personalities. I
Mm.
think I don't know if it was Adam Carolla or one of the guys, like one of the extra guys that was on the morning show, was talking about some voiceover thing that he did, and I emailed him directly. They gave their
Oh
email
wow.
addresses out or whatever. So yeah, so I'd emailed him and said, "Oh wow, I think it's amazing, voiceover." And it was just this weird epiphany light bulb that went off. And I said, "Hey, how do you get into this?" And I swear, within the hour, he replied and said,
Wow.
the classes and voiceover acting, specific voiceover classes and things like that, and that kind of just got me started. From there, I was able to kind of network and meet more people and take more classes and kind of go from there. But yeah, started in 2004, and yeah.
Well, now, I mean, that's a huge jump where because you've kind of established yourself in life. You got this Parks and Recreation job. That's kind of the track that everybody goes through, and then you have this epiphany. Because I remember, of course, the radio show and self-serving. I remember you and I would do some like
Yeah.
sports talk radio at like midnight or something, and
Yeah.
that was like super fun. I still think back to those days. Um, but it seems like that's a huge jump to all of a sudden say, hey, you got this normal, cookie cutter type of a life set out for you. And then you decide, hey, I'm going to go for this. I mean, you've always had a good voice. People are always like, hey, you should be on the radio type guy. But there's a big jump between that and actually having a career. But like,
Oh,
how hard was it to just go all in? Because you didn't just like, I don't think you just dipped a toe in it. You went like, this is my new direction.
oh yeah.
Like, how hard was that to do it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was very hard. I mean, honestly, from 2004 to about 2008, it was a lot of trial and error and spending way more money than I'm making because I'm taking classes, I'm buying equipment, stuff like that. It
Yeah.
was and I was running out of money because apparently the Parks and Rec was no longer the income source.
Uh,
And but then so a buddy of mine was saying I was wanting to pick up some graveyard shift work somewhere, anywhere, like 7-Eleven or a gas station or something like that, just to be able to do voiceover stuff during the day. Because the whole deal was, we're in Orange County area of Southern California. It's about 50 miles from LA, and so taking classes, and if I'd get an audition, back then there wasn't a lot of
oh
home
yeah.
studios to go into LA for the classes, for the auditions, and if I booked a session for the sessions, and I needed to leave my days free So I couldn't, picking up another job would just completely make that impossible to, do that, to pursue this. So, and even doing stuff like, oh, get a waiter job or a bartender job or something, because I used to do the bartender thing
Yeah.
back in the day, and that would have been fine. But that still would maybe have me start at 5 or 6 in the evening and then go into, and sometimes I'd be in LA until the later afternoon. So I needed like graveyard shift type
Yeah.
work. So, while I was trying to get this voiceover thing going. And that was a crossroads where I was like, okay, I could either get a real job and forget this voiceover thing, or I can try to, make things happen and work with what I had in the graveyard shift. So anyway, fast forward, I'm going, trying to go maybe into a gas station or 7-Eleven. And you'd suggested that there was some openings for graveyard shift over at LA County Sheriff's for a jailer.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
I say,
can't beat it.
sure, why not? And I was assured that I would not have to handle inmates or anything like that, and graveyard shift was not a problem to get,
Uh,
but apparently there was like a hiring freeze or something at this time, and they were shorthanded. So the CAs, the custody assistants, that's what the jailers were, I guess.
mm,
They had to do a lot more hands-on stuff than initially anticipated. But I had to go through the whole police academy thing,
yeah. Okay.
and
All I want to
but
be is a voice actor, man. I don't want to do this crap.
and by the way, I'm keeping that on the down low
Oh,
because,
yes.
the last thing I want to advertise to anybody over there, like, yes, I'm an actor. I'm just wanting to
You
be
may
an
have heard me on
actor.
the radio.
I'm all about the arts and the sensitivity and the creativity of that discipline. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm picking up this the graveyard stuff, and it worked out fine at first because, hey, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. This is great. It's perfect to get home, sleep for a few hours, get up, and then I would do auditions. Maybe I'd have to go to
Yeah.
LA or something and come back. Worked out perfectly, but because of the whole shorthanded thing, I was getting they were needing people to work overtime,
Mm,
and it wasn't just and I know you know the story, but the it wasn't just work another hour or two until Bob gets off of lunch. It's like, no, you need to work another 8 hour shift.
yeah.
So I was going 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then I still, mind you, still had to go back to work that same night at 10
Uh,
p.m. For the regular shift. So again, I don't need to tell you this story, um, but yeah, so I was in that, and I was like, okay, every now and then, not a problem. But then I was getting, I guess they called it drafted, when you were getting
mm,
forced to work the
yeah.
overtime, and instead of just volunteering, because they take the volunteers until all the volunteers were taken, and then there still was openings, and then they
Mm,
were getting drafted, and people were getting drafted. So I'd get this call in my module that I was working in within the last like 30 minutes of the shift. It was like that's when you'd get the call to say that
yeah.
you got drafted. And that last 30 minutes, it was like time was standing still because I just couldn't get out of there fast enough. But
Mm.
yeah, so they were drafting me, and I was working like, I don't know, at least 3 days a week
Oh,
was I was
man.
getting like every other day I was getting drafted and stuff. Cause I guess they wouldn't draft you 2 nights in a row. I don't think they could do that or something. I guess they did have a standard to
Well,
like, well, we're not
I
going to
don't
cross
know.
that line.
It's all subject to change, I think.
I guess, I get it. The whole thing was you can't be shorthanded in the jails. There's, it's
Mm.
different than like not having enough guys at McDonald's. A little bit different dynamic there. But
Well,
anyway, I had
you
this.
should have let them know that you were an actor, dude. They would have totally just rolled out the red carpet. Oh, that's right. You're an actor. You don't need to do this overtime. It'd be much better.
I need to rewind, go back, and try that. Because I was claiming childcare issue, because I was like, I got to come up with something because this is killing me. I'm missing some things, and there was some opportunities that I was starting to kind of get that
Mm,
I couldn't book some jobs because I'm doing the jailer thing. So it ended up we amicably parted ways at that point.
well,
But
it's so funny. I mean, not that it would ever even change your situation back then, but it is, I think, just maybe it's the new generation coming in, but man, work has changed. I mean, people have all these like mental health days. They've got like, there's like, when you talk about your child stuff, oh my gosh. I mean, you can take time off for virtually everything now, as far as any of this stuff. So, but the big thing is when you're working 16 hours, that other 8 hours, you're supposed to go home and sleep. All right. And then also somewhere in that 8 hours, you got to eat, you got to sleep, and then you got to get back to work for your next shift. So there's no time in it for you to be working on your voiceover stuff, and
Yeah.
so I don't blame you, of course. I just thought, man, that's what I wanted to kind of get across to people here is that at that point, I think you dove straight in though. Like,
Oh yeah.
people, oh, being a voice actor is so, it's great. You can do this crap in your underwear. And I wanted to make sure people realized, that, I mean, you started doing it. I remember you were recording some like encyclopedia or some crazy thing, but you were doing it in your closet at your, with your wife and your clothes. Now what was that? It was like a subliminal messages thing you did.
It was hypnosis CDs.
Yeah.
There was literally, and no joke, I got this was something I got on one of these, they call these voiceover pay to play sites. It's kind of like you pay like $500 for to belong to this membership, and they would give you auditions. Because at that point I didn't have
Oh,
an agent, and I needed to get some experience. So I had, and they made you give quotes like, "How much would you do this job for?" So I would say, "Oh, I'll do
oh,
it for,
okay.
$100." I mean, I'm desperate. I'm trying to get some experience. So,
Yeah.
man, I lowballed myself so badly. But I did this. Um, yeah, it was subliminal hypnosis, I should say. And some of the topics, no joke. Okay, they had the standard ones like, quit smoking, lose
Mm.
weight. But there was also change your eye color. There was a hypnosis for that.
Hey, grow taller. I was
Um,
going to do the grow. I wanted to grow
grow
taller.
taller. Grow taller was another one. And it was all I could do not to just bust out laughing as I'm reading these, but I had to have the very sultry tones. You're getting sleepy. You're growing taller. You feel your bones growing longer.
Well,
Are
the
you
one
very
that got
relaxed right
me,
now?
yeah. I mean, first of all, you're a pro because I remember
Thank
listening
you.
some of because you would play some of the ones that were like the irritable bowel one, and it was like
Yes.
how you're gonna subliminally, and you are so serious, and you're like, you cannot. I don't even know what you would say to that. Your bowels are stiffening, whatever, but
It
you were
was
doing
no,
it.
no, no. It
I
was
am
about
dying.
your digestion is flowing. It's like, oh
So it's
yeah,
not
it's flowing all
stiffening.
right.
Now, so that was near the beginning because were you? Is it kind of one of those things? You did all the networking. Were you taking a lot of non-union stuff, and you're
Oh,
hoping to start to get to the union? Is that how you kind of start?
I was exclusively non-union. I wanted to get to the union, but that was, and there's a story. I think you're transitioning over for that one too pretty soon. But yeah, I wanted to do the union stuff, but it was all non-union was this stuff. So if it was this the hypnosis thing or like a fertilizer ad that would air in Little Rock, Arkansas or something,
Mm.
I took what I could get at this point. These early days were. Yeah, just crazy jobs, and some, like I said, when I had to give quotes for things, I literally quoted a job that I do for free, and the guy hired me for it, and he said, "No, Chris, I'm going to give you $100 because I didn't hire you because you said you do it for free, although that was enticing, but I can't just not pay you anything." And it was like some small regional commercial, but hey, yeah, I did what I got to do, so. But yeah, I did get into the union, and I guess to transition to that story, uh the catch-22 about joining the union is in order to get a union job, you have to be in the union. well, you can't get a
Mm,
union job unless you're in a union, and so is this. Well, how do you get in there? It's like, which comes
yeah.
first, the chicken or the egg here? I don't understand. How do you get in there? So there were certain things I could do. I was trying to be an extra on movie sets, and if I collected a certain number of vouchers, did enough extra work.
Oh wow.
Um, and I could do that. This was at the time when there was SAG and AFTRA were separate at the time. The other way was you could join AFTRA and you didn't need to even book a job. You could just join AFTRA. And if you were in even if you didn't book a job in AFTRA after a year of being in AFTRA, then you could join SAG at that point. SAG was like
Oh
the holy grail, though. That was the one you really wanted to get into. You get into both,
yeah.
um, but anyway, so I did extra work trying to get that, and then any on-camera things. There was this petition is called the Taft-Hartley Act, and
Yeah.
you could be a non-union worker, and if you were able to do something that no union actor was able to perform, then the producers would petition you with this Taft-Hartley Act, and it would give you immediate admission into the union. So there was this job where I was this extra person that it was to play tennis, and so you go to the audition and you got to just see if you could play tennis. So I don't even know what this thing's about. This project's about, right? So I go to this
Mm.
location. It's a park in LA somewhere, and I bring my racket. And man, I am looking like a Wimbledon pro compared to these actors. I mean, it is. It was not looking very promising for them, but it was looking really good for me. Got a call back, looking really good, and I booked the job. And but then it turned out, and they were going to Taft Hartley me. I was going to get in the union. All my dreams were going. Well, it was a Church of Scientology Dianetics
Yes. Mm,
video,
yeah.
which
And I want to
I
thank you that I still get mail from the Church of Scientology thanks to you.
Well, here's the thing, for the listeners out there, there's this ongoing little thing that John and I have. Back when I think I was about 16 or 17 years old, John signed me up for this mailing list for AARP. And my folks still living at the original address. Still get AARP mail, but now, sadly, I can actually utilize that literature.
Yeah, I know that
so,
that hits a little close to home. That would kind of hurt. Well,
so
and I used to
I
sign
had to
me
get
up for the
even though
military
with you.
stuff.
Yeah, so I had to get even with you with the opportunity to put you on a mailing list for the Church of Scientology. I could not pass that up.
But
You're
here's the
welcome.
difference with the yeah, here's the difference with the Church of Scientology though. I have moved 3 times, bro, since then. 3 times. I still at the new address, I get handwritten letters from the Church of Scientology. So, dude, big brothers out there.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah.
Hey, that
My
should be the
old
next
address.
trailer for Hostage.
I know. L. Ron Hubbard, dude. Yeah, yeah, that was something. Now, with you, as far as when do you think from the beginning of like, hey, I want to do this? Do you think you were actually making money? Be
Oh
like,
yeah.
when do you think? Because I'll just tell you something. I have, the funny part when you're talking about your work, ever since, because once you start hitting it, you had some pretty big commercials. At least we're hearing you on Jack FM. I remember you had Chevron and stuff like that. But the hilarious thing is the guys I were working with. And I know I've told you this, but the guys I work with, they would literally, they were so sick of me saying, "Oh, hey, this is my friend. He's doing the commercial." They would actually come up and go, "Dude, I heard your friend's commercial." So I was like, I had everybody at my work listening for your stuff, but when do you think, for the beginning and the end, how long do you think it took you to where you were making
Oh
money?
yeah. I would say it was around 2006 was when I did the the jailer job, and that was for, I don't know, a year and a half or so. And then shortly thereafter, things were starting to click. I didn't really necessarily have my big break. This might have been 2007 or so. Then in 2008, I booked my first national commercial was for Minute Maid, Enhanced Juices and Drinks, was for that campaign, and that was in 2008. And I didn't know how big it was going to be. Whenever you book, whenever I'd book something, you never know. Oh, this is going to be national, or it's going to be this, that. I'm like, hey, I'm just happy I got a job. I didn't know where it was going to go,
Hmm.
but it was union, and thank you, L. Ron Hubbard, and so it was good pay and residuals and stuff like that. And then I hadn't seen where it was going to air, but I think you called me and you were saying something. It's like, hey, are you watching American Idol or something? And at that time, American Idol was like really popular. The Simon
Yeah.
Cowell and Paula Abdul and all that. And I said, oh, I taped it. But he goes, dude, your Minute Maid commercials on right now on that. And I was like, holy, like no way. So
Oh yeah.
I think I fast forwarded through it because the TiVo, which was the
Yeah.
digital
Back of
video
those days.
recording device of its time.
Mhm.
I was fast forwarding through my own damn stuff. But yeah, that aired then, and I guess what the Beijing Olympics were then, it was airing all during that, and I was like, "Holy crap!" That was pretty cool. So that one, and then the next big step was my second video game that I booked was for Call of Duty,
Yeah.
and it was with Kiefer Sutherland and Gary Oldman. And I'm like, this is sweet, and I'm like, me, all three of us is great. I never met those
We're
guys,
just gonna be hanging out. We're gonna be best
yeah,
friends.
the new Brat Pack. But we never with video games. It's very rare that you record with other actors. It's very isolating. You just do your stuff separately with video games. So I never met them, but it was funny when I was like all patting myself on the back about getting this Call of Duty gig, and the producer kind of sits me down and says, "Okay, um, hey, no, it's great. Congratulations, Call of Duty. That's awesome. We just want to let you know though, you don't make it." And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you get killed at like level 2, but you're like the big time. But then when you die, Kiefer Sutherland kind of takes over from there. And,
Oh
but I tell you what, I had this YouTube fan following, and my
yeah.
character's name was Sergeant Sullivan. And there was this Save Sergeant Sullivan campaign raging through
Started
the
by
internet.
you. Under an AKA.
But and there was like some people thought that there was like how I died is I opened up this door, and a Japanese soldier samurai stabbed me in the stomach and stuff, and that was it. But there was a thought that, oh, if you went to down a different tunnel or you hit these buttons a certain way, you could save Sergeant Sullivan. People thought that there was some sort of conspiracy, and I'm like, no, sadly, I had to. Well, actually, I couldn't say anything when the game came out because you're under these NDAs. You can't talk
Oh yeah.
about like games and stuff. But after the fact, of course, I knew there was no way of saving me. Why? Because there was no words for me to say. They stopped giving
Oh
me
yeah.
script. That was the big telltale. But it was
Now,
fun. But at that point, I started booking more and more, and so about 4 years after jumping in, it was when I got the big break and started rolling.
because that's a thing. I think people, again, they think it's really easy. Hey, I can sit there and I can talk in a microphone, but it's, I mean, there's a whole lot more involved. I know you have your own studio, and I mean, I remember seeing that as far as you kind of going and building that, and now you got a really cool setup. But I mean, you're editing your stuff. You're doing all. I mean, I learned about that ICD, or maybe I'm saying it wrong, but where you can like tap into some other person's studio. So it's not like you're just sitting there playing grab ass. You know what I mean? You like have to know what you're doing. Was that hard? Was it hard learning that? Because the learning curve, for us old people, sometimes it's tough.
Well, let me make it very clear. There's always time for a little grab ass.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. All right. All right.
but yeah, no, I mean, I knew just enough to be dangerous, and I learned on like if I had to learn it, then I learned it. I figured it
Mm,
out. And, either one of the things in voiceover, I suppose, in any field and stuff, you're with your peers, you're and you're able to get like advice on how to do this or a cheaper way to do that or a referral to get this done or whatever. But and of course, at this point too, the internet's emerging even more and more with resources. Of course, now you can AI and stuff. You can ask how to build a house; it'll tell you how to.
yeah.
But there were still some resources that were becoming available, and I would immerse myself in like the various tutorials and stuff. And I had to
Okay.
learn this stuff because I got to do this.
Yeah, because you
So
were constantly, excuse me, you were constantly getting commercials, and then you would have to like, because I remember we had a show once, an MMA show, a couple lights out show. I know you get mobbed all the time because of your, but I remember we'd be on that show, and you would get stuff on the computer, and it would be like a time frame. And it'd be like, hey, there's a Taco Bell. I don't know if you were doing auditions at this point or you were actually going to get the part, but you would have to like have a turnaround of like an hour or whatever that
yeah.
you'd have to record it. Is that is that how it works usually?
Well, even now, I mean, the day it is, yeah, I guess to the short answer, yeah, but my day in the life, even right now, doing okay with voiceover. But it's today, before we did our thing, I had a session for the History Channel and a session for Dodge and then a bunch of auditions. And the auditions would come from like emails from my agents, and they'd normally have sometimes same day turnaround. I had a couple that were like
Okay.
they needed right away. Others they give you about a 24 hours
Oh,
heads
okay.
up. But I would for the auditions, I'd record them on my home setup here into an MP3 file and then upload it or email it back to the agent. Put together a couple of takes to give them some options there, and then say a little prayer and send it off, and hope it all goes well. The
Well,
sessions
yeah.
are just more directed as far as they'll connect. You were mentioning ISDN,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
connection.
So that's it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a phone-based one. That's kind of, extinct now. Now they use Source
Oh,
Connect,
really?
it's more internet-based. Yeah, once the pandemic hit, the ISDN kinda went away, because that, that was more in the studio, for ISDN, whereas, when everybody had to work from home, they couldn't go the producers couldn't go to the studio anymore, so they had to work
Mm,
from home. So it had to be all internet-based at that point, so we did that,
wow.
but yeah, so the sessions would be directed, so I'd be able to connect, and the director is telling me how he wants me to do it, and I do it, and then they're like, "Okay, Chris, we're all done. Thanks." I'm like, "Cool," and we love those, quick and easy.
Yeah. Well, quick side note, just because I thought about it, I thought one of the coolest ones, and you got all the respect from people I know, is when you did the voice for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and you were,
Yeah.
and whether you can tell people about that, the one that got me was the fact that you did so many. You'd be like Brooklyn Nine-Nine in 6 days, you know,
Oh yeah.
Jake stubs his toe in 3 days, or whatever. But like, I was surprised at how many that you did.
Yeah, that was getting network promo spots was a cash cow. They based on the union though, you don't one promo doesn't make a lot of money. I think it's like $297 or something is scale. And then but if you say it's like if you just say Brooklyn Nine-Nine is hilarious tonight on Fox. Okay, tonight on Fox, that's like a tag. So you
Okay.
get the 297 for the spot and then $99 for the tag. But then if you had tomorrow on Fox, there's another $100. Friday on Fox, there's another $100. Next Friday on Fox, there's another $100. So if you're doing like 4 or 5 different main body spots, one's a 30, then there's a 20, then there's a 15, then there's a 10. That's 300, 300, 300, 300, and then a boatload of tags tonight on Fox, tomorrow on Fox, June 15th on Fox is like 100. So you could all of a sudden find yourself that one lone little $300 job turns into $3,000
Mm.
at the end of 10 minutes or something like that. So it's like not bad work if you can get them. That's for sure.
Now, with you being like on such a successful show, Does it matter like each year? I don't know. How many years did you do Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
While it was on Fox, it switched from Fox to NBC after season 5 or 6 or something like that. And then once it went over to NBC, they've got their own stable of talent that does promos and stuff for them. So that's when that one ended for me.
Yeah, but I mean, so do you get an increase each year, or is it as your what you get paid is always the same?
No, yeah, it's the SAG scale, so it maintained
Okay.
that consistency. If SAG rates, when they go on strike and whatever and renegotiate for new rates and stuff like that, and then we get more from that standpoint. But we just follow the SAG contracts unless it's negotiated otherwise. Like, oh, he's a big time guy, so he's going to get double scale or triple scale or whatever's negotiated. But promos
Okay.
would not necessarily fit. That would be for like video games or something like that. Like I'll do video games and that'll pay scale or double scale or something like that for the certain game. But if like Kiefer Sutherland and Gary Oldman, they did not make scale. They made a lot
Okay.
more
All
than
right.
just
Nice.
scale for their roles. But I'm the poor chump that got third billing underneath those guys, and I just got scale. Come on.
Well, I don't know if I told you when I optioned a film, a screenplay that I had written, when I was the contract that they gave me, but it was kind of like they were just starting to get into computer sending it because the company was actually in the UK. They actually sent me, but it would say like my name and the address and whatever, but it still had somebody else had their screenplay option, and they were being paid like three times more than me. And then I started, and I was
Oh,
like, but they just had my name at the top, but all the other stuff was for somebody else's screenplay. And they had all this stuff about like this person controlled sequels, this person. I was like, I didn't even ask for any
oh
of that crap.
man.
And so when I went back and said, hey, uh, I think this stuff is for somebody else's thing. And then they just went like, oh, okay, and then sent me the right one with like none of the crap that other guy got. So kind of like I was super happy with the option, and then I wasn't as
Yeah.
happy after it.
It
But
just goes to show
that
you,
being
just
said,
shut up and take the deal.
yes. What I was going to ask you, which I think so many people wonder, is so you do a commercial, okay? Like you're a voice actor or a regular actor. Are you paid differently between being a voice actor and a regular, or both of you guys get the same? And what is the whole residual thing? Because the people have, on the outside of it think, oh, these guys are making so much money. Like every time it plays, you're making XYZ. Now, do
Oh,
you get
yeah.
paid in blocks or do you get paid every time it's played?
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, actually, that is a kind of a misnomer. People think every time it plays. I wish it was every time it plays, but no, there are these cycles that it would run for, and it's the same as on camera and stuff. But
Okay.
as it goes through each cycle, then if it has to renew, then that happens sometimes too. So then you get those long-term campaigns where they'll renew it a few cycles. Then it's like you're making good money, and then of course if you've got like a 30-second version and a 15-second version and a 10-second, and then all of those renew, then it's times three on that. And if it's also, if you're doing radio and TV, and so each medium is going to pay separately and stuff. So yeah, you get on a well-rounded campaign, it you can do quite well, take that big pile of money, go to Vegas, put it all on black.
Well, it's funny is ever since you've been involved in voiceovers, I watch commercials and I know it drives my wife crazy. And she's, but then again, I think a lot of times commercials are pretty funny now. I mean, they're getting better and better, but I mean, your Dodge commercials are super cool. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's been a fun campaign. I've been on and off with them for about 10 years, and they had stopped using me right after they switched to electric cars. And I don't think that I'm not sure how well received the electric cars were. And then they went back to, I guess, the combustion engine cars, because the muscle car kind of fans are not as much into the electric versions. So I was
Yeah.
happy that they decided to go back to use me with those. And then they had Marilyn Manson do the background or the music to one of them, that remake of that Phil Collins song. I can feel it in the coming in the air. That was a cool
Oh,
version.
okay.
So
Marilyn Manson. Yes. I remember when we actually saw them in concert at the Forum, and as they were playing, you said we're all going to hell. So that was yeah, it was a dark moment there. And it
I
all comes
felt
full
dirty
circle. Now they're
after
doing
seeing
yeah, that's right. That's right.
it.
Well, hey, now with I remember one thing I think it's kind of interesting about your career as you were moving up, you would get an agent. I remember, I won't use any names to protect the innocent, but you're like, man, I want to get this agent because this person can really do something good. And then you would get that agent, and then like, a year later, you're like, bro, I got to fire that agent because I got to get a better agent. And then you get that better agent. Now, did you find because is that kind of the way? And then you get a better agent, kind of opens up doors. But like in the film business, and I'll say this for like I've had literary agent, I've had different agents involved in my life, and I think almost everything I've gotten, I've done myself. Like my agent just signed, made the contract up. But like, how valuable is an agent, each step of the way for you as a voice actor?
My God, it's monumental. There's some guys that can hustle for their own work, and they somehow are able to develop and foster relationships with production houses, producers, ad agencies, things like that. Different ways to do it, but I mean, it's that's a full time job in and of itself just to try to market yourself like that. But there's people that have claimed to
Oh,
do really
yeah.
well with that. To me, I think that's just swimming upstream, and that's just too hard to work. So I want, I definitely market myself and network to people, but and I don't so I try to promote myself outside with dip my YouTube channel of promoting some of the
Mm,
spots I've been in or social media or something like that, or I do on Instagram. I've did some voiceover tips and stuff like that, and it's actually helped generate contacts with producers and
mm,
casting directors, things like that. It's all been good, but to have the agent and an agent that believes in you, I gotta say, I
yeah.
was very lucky that I'm with CESD now, and I think they're the best in the business, and they take real good care of me and put me in the front of the line on most of the projects, and give me an opportunity, and I come through for them, periodically enough for them to keep putting me up there, but yeah, I would not be anywhere close to where I
Clearly.
am right now without the agent for sure.
Now, is it in this situation with an agent, are they sending you the work? Is that who you get it all kind of like funneled from the agent to you?
Yeah, yeah. Most probably like 90% of my stuff comes from
Okay.
the various agents, CESD being my primary one. And then the other remaining percentages, like producers that I've done jobs for or casting directors that I've done stuff for, that they'll just reach out directly to me. And that's kind of a cool thing about being in this business for as long and having, I guess, a little bit of a reputation to that they're like, oh yeah, let's give it to Chris, because obviously when I got
Mm.
started, nobody knew or cared about me, and now I guess my name's out there a little bit, so they'll contact me directly, which is cool. And if I book it, then I can just pass it on to my agent to negotiate whatever. Um, but yeah, it works out pretty good from that standpoint, where I don't have to. All those relationships that I kind of fostered years ago, are paying off and continue to pay off down the line now.
Well, I remember you saying, and I've used this quote, quite often. You were saying that you may not be the best, but you're always available. I think that was kind of like at the beginning of your career. Maybe you pick and choose more now. But I remember you saying that was interesting is that you've gotten stuff because somebody's too busy or they're not available right now. And then you've been able to swoop in. And once you're in, they're saying they'll always go to Chris to do that. Is that
Yeah.
kind of still your mantra?
Oh my God. It was the mantra is God bless the lazy. is
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it was. And I say that, and you hit the nail when they said I'm not the most talented guy, far from it. But I am one of the more ambitious guys, and the more driven guys. And I was willing to do things early on in my career, and to this day too, that other people just simply weren't willing to do. Guys way more
Mm,
talented than me weren't willing to do that. They wouldn't
mm,
be available for something, and I was. And or I would be taking these night classes and going into Hollywood, a few days a week, and I'd go to these meet and greets and these workshops, and just strictly for the opportunity to meet people that could,
yeah.
because this is also a who you know world we live in. You get nowhere by yourself. You need to make
Mm.
contacts and connections so they can help open doors for you. And then do you have the drive and ambition to take advantage and step through those doors and stuff. So I thank God of those lazy people that wouldn't get off their ass and do the work, because it allowed me to take all their jobs. And so God bless you, lazy people. God bless you.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is I always think about, you had a pretty good mentor. I think his name is Scott Rummel or
Yeah.
whatever, that he had a lot of success. And I'm thinking like, I never knew a voice actor until you. All right. And
Yeah.
then you happen to have met this guy. And I don't know how you guys met, but he's in the same city, or he was at the time. I'm like, how does that work out? But how cool was it, you know, to have somebody that that has had such a career, still has a career, that you can kind of bend his ear and learn. I mean, now rest in peace, that LaFontaine guy. Like now because of you, I start to know
Yeah.
like voice actors' name. That kind of starts to hurt my feelings. But like, how was that? Like, how did you guys meet? You and that Scott Rummel?
Yeah, yeah, we literally lived in the same neighborhood, out here in Orange County, and there's this, community association, workout facility that, I was working out in, and there was a personal trainer, and I was going in on the regular basis there, and, start chatting with the personal trainer, and he was saying, "Oh," or she was saying, "Well, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm an aspiring voice actor," and he, or she was
Here, I'll be
saying,
careful of the vocal cords. Be careful of the
yeah, you're
vocal
right,
cords.
right. And she was saying, "Oh, I train, a voice actor, a really established one. I'll, introduce you guys next time, he comes in." I'm like, "Oh, great," whatever. I didn't know, whatever. And then maybe later that week, we were both in at the same time, and the trainer introduced us, and he is, one of the most successful voice actors, I think, in the industry as far as I'm concerned. And he's super generous of his time and resources and talents, and said, "Hey, I got a session right after my workout here. Why don't you come along with and sit in on it?" And and it was he was doing a trailer, for, I can't remember what the movie was, but like major feature film. He done all the Marvel Avengers trailers, and
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's done thousands of trailers over the course of his career. But yeah, so he doesn't know me from Adam, and he invites me into his home to sit in on a session and hear how the whole process kind of worked. And he told me all the things that I needed to do to be successful in voiceover. And over the course of the next few years, I'm doing every single one of those. And then after I kind of, made it and was successful, and we were chatting, and he'd say, "God, Chris, I'm so happy for you, or all your success, and I'm just so surprised you did all the things I told you to do." And I'm like, "Well, why wouldn't I? I mean, coming from you, you say to do that, you say to jump, I say how high." And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, dude, you'll be surprised how many people will simply not do that. They'll think there's a
Mm.
different way, a faster way, a cheaper way,
Oh
an
yeah.
easier way."
Shortcut. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but there isn't. And he's
Mm.
like, "You'll find that." And now I'm passing on advice and telling people what to do. And he told me, he goes, "Watch, you wait and see. You're gonna be doing the same thing, and you're gonna see." And now can say proof positive, "Yeah, you're right there. I've told people, and they don't do it, and then they don't get anywhere." And I'm shocked. And the people I'm
Yeah.
telling, I think, are more talented than I am, but they
Yeah.
don't care. So God bless the lazy.
Now, how do you like the personal stuff? I know that you were telling me you speak at colleges. Like how are you, like putting yourself out there for like being a coach or a mentor? Like what do you do, to get that out there?
It's something I didn't really actively promote, and I even teach now. There's a guy, a demo producer that I'm a long time friends with, and he gets, some actors that aren't really experienced, and he knows that I was teaching. Teaching kind of just started like word of mouth, and I kind of like had a knack for it, and it was cool, and I enjoyed doing it. And he was like, "Hey, do you mind tuning up a few of my clients, getting them ready for their demo?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." So this kind of turned into a kind of a side thing, and nice little gig and stuff. And then I reached out to a couple of local universities, and there's one of the drama teachers over there wanted me to speak, and so every semester I speak for her at one of her classes, and about voiceover and stuff like that and stuff. But it's fun. I enjoy
Mhm.
it. That. I don't. I completely volunteer that, and I just enjoy doing it, and people seem to get something out of it. So why not? But yeah.
Now, is that kind of one of those pay it forward type things? Because I know you make enough money being a voice actor, so you should just be like, chilling in the jacuzzi or smoking cigars. You know what I mean? But you're actually, wanting to do that. That's kind of interesting.
Well, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of jacuzzi, cigar, Crown Royal time, and I take advantage of it on the nightly. But yeah,
Mhm.
no, I mean it is kind of fun, and I affords me a little bit of time. So that's a great thing too. At this point in my career, I'm able to kind of make my own schedule a little bit. Play a little golf and getting out there. We got to get back out there, keep that golf going.
Yeah,
But
dude, a
but
hundred
yeah.
percent, man, 100%. Now, how much did voiceover or at all, how much of it changed with, after COVID? Because it was interesting talking to all the actors that were on the movies. It's like you don't even go in and audition anymore. Everything's they do it, there's backstage, and that's how I casted Hostage. And they say almost all, like 99% of their auditions now are online. Did it change for you or was it the same?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's obviously voiceover and on camera, slightly different as far as the audition process and stuff. But before, like for voiceover, I would probably like 80% of the auditions I do from home, still even before the pandemic. 20% I'd go into LA to audition in person for the casting directors. But then once the pandemic hit, then everything was at home, and even the sessions too. That was another thing too. The sessions, auditions, yeah, and then sessions. I still majority were from home, as especially just as technology was advancing to do more home studio stuff. But then after the pandemic, everything, auditions and sessions were all exclusively from home. And then there were certain genres like video games and animation. You always went into the studio. You always went into LA for those. They didn't want to have to worry about um your home studio setup. But because the times were what they were, if you had a good quality home studio, then some of the actors were allowed to do stuff from home, which worked out really great because I got a good setup here, and
Oh yeah.
broadcast quality and everything. So I was able to do that. But now they're slowly but surely trying to get the actors back in, like mostly from the video game standpoint. I typically do not go back in for auditions anymore. I can do them all from here. But the sessions, I probably maybe once a year have to go into LA now for sessions. Whereas before, I mean, back in the jailer days, I was going in 3-4 days a week sometimes. So the times have changed there. And I like the convenience because I'm 50 miles from LA, so I like hanging
Yeah.
at home, because it gives me more jacuzzi cigar time.
There you go. That's the important thing. Now, so real quick, looking at all that you've done, because I'll tell you, whether it be myself or everybody that I know, when we look at the career of Chris Freeze's voices, is our favorite ones were always Call of Duty. People get excited about the show on Call of Duty. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think that the owl. I think you're that annoying, sarcastic owl, guy. But so those are the three that everybody seems to like that I know. Once I tell them, they're like, dude, does your friend do the owl? Because you have a little bit of different voice on each of them, but those would be the three biggest ones, from our standpoint. What would you say would be your top three, five, best roles, in voice acting?
Yeah, I think you kind of, hit on a few of them, right, for sure. The America's Best, that optometry place, the owl, was a cool. That campaign just ended, and that was unfortunate. But all good things
Oh,
must come to an end. But yeah, they rebranded, and it happens. And then the Dodge campaign, though, I think is pretty cool. That just the way that they cut those commercials together with the music and the action sequences, it's like total Fast and Furious kind of a vibe there, which is pretty cool. So I
yeah.
really am proud of that one. The Chevron campaign was a really good one with the claymation cars and stuff.
Yes.
Was a fun one. The Call of Duties was very cool. I got there was a Tom Clancy game. I forget the name of it. And that's probably not good that I forget that. But they flew me up to Seattle to voice that
Nice.
one. That was kind of cool. It was during the holidays. So sometimes some of the how they get me to or take me to Seattle or whatever, or the actually the America's Best thing with the owl, they had me go on set for the commercial shoots, and I would be off camera, but I would say my lines to the on-camera actor, and I guess the director liked it because it made the on-camera actors a lot more relaxed and spontaneous and stuff. And so when it went well, they continued it throughout the campaign, and that went on for about 10 years. So that was very cool. I didn't understand when I first booked it, and they said I was going to be this owl, and then they wanted me to come on set, and I was like, I don't understand. I'm normally like the post-production guy to go on set. Am I gonna be like wearing an owl costume or something? I thought this was gonna get real cheesy real fast.
Yeah.
And then they explained to me, no, I'd be off camera and stuff. But yeah, but doing those, is cool. I'm doing, this, Academy Sporting Goods. It's kind of like Dick's Sporting Goods out here in the West, but it's, the all in the southeast, like Texas to Virginia and south to Florida.
Okay.
They're kind of like Dick's and Bass Pro Shop had a baby. It'd be this place, so it's a pretty big deal there. So I've been doing that for a little bit. That's a fun campaign, but probably the video games I think are the funnest, and you get a kick out of it because of how excited people get about it. The one of the first video games I did was I couldn't uh Samantha, my daughter, she was about 8 or 9 or something at the time, and I couldn't get a babysitter for her, and the producer I'd known from doing other stuff, and she had kids too, and I'd said, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I can't come in today because my babysitter, whatever stuff. And she's like, bring her in, it's fine.
Yeah.
She could be in the control room with us, it'll be so much fun. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I bring her along, and I think it was one of the Call of Duties actually, and so I open up the script to the first page, and there's a sequence of f bombs that I have to
Yeah.
drop right out of the gate, and then I look up to the director, Margaret is her name, and I look and I'm like, and at the end, of course, everybody then stares at Sam, and then I was like, oh, and then one of the assistants says, "Come here, Sam. We got a big bowl of candy in the other room here."
Yeah.
Your dad
Works
is
every
about to
time.
use the Lord's name in vain several times. So, yeah, there you go. But it's all
Now,
fun.
I remember, and I'm not sure if it was the Call of Duty one, but I remember you were doing one of the, I think it was a video game, but you were yelling or screaming, and you were
Oh, yeah.
saying whatever they liked it, but then you like lost your voice. Now,
Yeah.
have you learned to curb that, or is that just part of the job?
Oh my God. Yeah. I was mortified. That was my very first video game. It was Resistance 2. And I was something like soldier number 5 or something like that. Big starring role. Right. But anyway, there was something they wanted me to yell, get out RPG or whatever the line was. But I did it. And the director got real excited about that take that I just gave. Oh, love it. Love it. Hit me again with it. Yeah, let's go. And so I'm like, of course, I'm like, well, let me give them even more. If they think that was good, wait until they get a load of this. And I'm like, RPG.
Yeah.
And I lost my voice in the middle of the scream, and I'm kind of talking like this. So, see, what had happened was, yeah, I was mortified. They got me through the session, and through some of the stuff, but I fault the director because they had me
Yeah,
doing the
he asked for too
screams.
much.
Damn it, you directors! They had me see. I like to first be pampered in my trailer,
Yes,
and
true.
but no, they had me doing the screams, the death cries, we call, right out of the gate, and normally they have always had it where you do your dialogue pieces first, and
Mm.
then you do your screams and shouts and death rattles, and I'll tell you, I've died 1,000 deaths in video games of ways that you wouldn't imagine. A director was going through a sequence of things saying, okay, Chris, you're getting your eye gouged out with a spoon. Go. Like, what? And they're like, good. Now hot oil is being poured all over your body. Go. And it's just these different
You're
ways
making it
of
a little
dying.
different each time.
Yeah, and to her credit, it did elicit. I mean, I thankfully have never had oil poured over me or my
Yeah.
eyeball gouged out with a spoon. But to her credit, it did elicit a different sound of screaming. So
So,
hey,
yeah.
good for her.
Now, I was going to say, what's really interesting is you have a different voice for a lot of these different campaigns. I mean, the Brooklyn Nine-Nine one came out of left field for me, because I was like, my Rocky Rillaman now, whatever, like a classic. How do you come up with a different voices? Because, there's the owl, then of course you've got the classic with the Dodge, and you were a little different with the Chevron one. Like I can tell
Yeah,
it's your
yeah.
voice, but it's like, is that you coming up with those voices, or is it in the script? Is it your agent or the director? Who is it that comes up with that?
Yeah, now the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, originally the specs called for, they wanted it to be like a Ron Swanson kind of vibe from Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson, and
Oh
so that
yeah.
very just kind of off the cuff, like he doesn't care about anything, and it was kind of droll
Hmm.
and to the point kind of a thing, and that's what booked it for me. But the Brooklyn Nine-Nine tonight on Fox. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like this. It's got a little bit of a dragnetty vibe. Just the facts, ma'am. So it's kind of
Hmm.
got that vibe. So, but in the first session, promo sessions tend to be like real fast, 5 or 10 minutes. So when I get this first session, it was the first one for it, and I made sure I was locked in on my Ron Swanson, the Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec. So I'm locked in on that sound, and then they start directing me away from that in the session. I'm like, no, I don't like that anymore. Now let's go into this and into this. And I don't even know how, but we ultimately arrived at this dragnet, just the facts, man, or Muggsy's
Yeah.
real mad now,
Yeah.
like you were saying, And that's what it kind of came into. Well, the session was done, and they got everything they wanted, and they're like, all right, Chris, thanks, but it took like 45 minutes for this session, and that's unheard of, way too long for a promo session. So I'm thinking, well, that's the last session I'm never going to get. I'm never going to work again with
Hmm.
them. They hated me. They must have hated me. So, but then they came back, and obviously the rest is history. And I was the voice of
Yeah.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine thereafter. But yeah, that one, it morphed into something. The America's Best, which is not totally unlike the Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Hmm.
It's just this sarcastic owl, and
Yeah. So it's just really a little more ramped up sarcasm.
yeah. So it's not just a better deal; it's America's Best. So I'm kind of like this. So yeah, it's not totally unlike the Brooklyn Nine-Nine one, but that one they wanted just smart ass sarcasm. So I
Yeah.
kind of like dipped into my Dennis Leary, Andrew Dice Clay kind
Hmm.
of vibe there, of just being just sarcastic, but you had to be like sarcastic, but you couldn't be cross the line into
Yeah.
off-putting a-hole.
Yeah.
So that's a
Offensive.
fine
Yeah.
line. There's a fine line there, you know. But the Dodge one is, it's all point of view. Dodge is Dodge, the Brotherhood of Muscle. It's way down
Okay.
here, and that one is just a hypothetical point of view of I'm imagining I'm at a cocktail party and a guy is hitting on my wife, and I go across the room and I'm imagining if I were to press him up against the wall. And since it's a cocktail party, it's not like a cowboy bar. I'm like going to
Yeah.
start
Gotta be
throwing blows.
cool.
But I go up to his ear and I look, you may not realize this, but that's my wife. And if you don't stop messing with her, it's going to get boop ugly.
Hmm.
So, and so that was the inspiration for, the
Oh, that's
Dodge
good.
thing. So it had nothing to do with muscle cars. It was just this point of view of me having this really hushed tone, because I can get this kind of cool texture out of my voice with this much quieter sound. But I still had to have this hard hitting intensity. So it was kind of the perfect marriage of intense but quiet, and it brought out this texture that was that been pretty cool. So
Well,
yeah,
what's kind of interesting is like, of course, when we're golfing, it's usually just the two of us and we get like some random pairing of, two other guys. And people will always make comments, or they often make comments about your voice. Like, oh, you've got a great voice. And you, of course, well, did you know I'm a voice actor?
yeah.
And
Why, thank
I'm sorry, that
you.
was actually a recording of Chris. But
You dummy.
the funny part is you have a good voice, like that traditional voice that you're talking about, but it's like all of your most famous ones, you're in a character, so you're not like that one dimensional. It
Yeah.
seems like a lot of voice actors, maybe they get so big they can just be one person, but not no disrespect, but like say Scott Rummel, now that he's gotten to this level and he's just doing trailers, he can be in a world, whatever. But it's like you can play all these different characters. And I thought that's interesting because everyone knows you, like my family, friends, that you have got a good voice, but it seems like your living has been made not using that voice, if that makes any sense.
I kind of totally, it does. There's I mean, I never tried to put on a voice, like even that Dodge voice and stuff. It's just
Mm,
me with this point of view, so it's still very recognizably me. So I'm not
okay.
trying to put on a voice. The owl is just me being sarcastic, kind of thing, and the chevron is just me being bright and friendly. Although I don't know when I ever really sound like this, but that's
Yeah.
chevron, together ahead, or whatever. And but it's all the basis of me. I'm not trying to put on a voice, but I guess it does turn out that I guess there's some range there and some versatility to do stuff. It's kind of funny. I always wanted to be Scott Rummel, and
Mm,
and be in that world, but but I don't have the texture that he does for the trailers. But what ended up happening for me in doing what I'm doing with the commercials and the video games and stuff is like I'm really happy that it kind of worked out the way it did. But I never thought it would this way. But I guess what's the old saying? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Um,
yeah. Well, but
yeah,
I mean, you truly are a voice actor. You know what I mean? It's not
yeah,
just one thing. Because I remember when you were going about this is Chris doing these different things. I remember Bruce Willis was talking about when when he gets hired, you're not hiring him to become something. You're hiring Bruce Willis to play gangster. You're hiring Bruce Willis to play a bus driver. You know what I mean? And I'll just
yeah.
fit myself. It's me. There's only so many Leonardo DiCaprios out there, or like Al Pacinos who become something else, Daniel Day-Lewis or whatever. But I thought that was always an interesting thing for acting. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of like what you just said.
Well, it's funny, and I don't even try to like be like the bus driver or the whoever. It's like it's Chris mad. It's Chris
Hmm.
happy. It's Chris sad or whatever. So so that's how I equate it. Instead of playing a part, it's just it's me being in that mood, kind of a
Hmm.
thing. So yeah, but it is interesting. It's like whatever gets you to the end result, right?
Hey, and it's worked for you. All right. So the last question will be, where do you see, because this is a job of a voice actor seems to be endless. But like, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Like, what's the plan of attack for Chris Free's voices in 3 to 5 years?
Well, first of all, it's Chris Fry's voices.
I know, dude, you've completely sold out, so I wouldn't even say that. That's why I was thinking that when I said it, because just quick side note about my boy here. His name is spelled Fries, and his entire life it's pronounced freeze, like freeze, like you're gonna freeze. Okay, everyone reads it and says fries, and I mean he has had meltdowns, and yes, I will talk about it. We're at a T-ball tryout. Like,
Yeah.
Chris wasn't even in my, like, I was trying out in one diamond. Chris is trying out in another diamond. I hear it's freeze, not fries. With I didn't even know. I didn't even heard the person say it, and he's melting down like a. See, he was always a diva. He was always the actor, like, please. But he's yelling at this grown adult saying because they mispronounce his name, and he's like 8. All right. So then go fast forward to he makes up business cards for his Chris Freeze voices, and it's like he makes it. What he had like ice cubes or something
Yeah. Yeah.
freeze. So you make sure, and all of a sudden now his latest freaking card says, "I'll take fries with that." He is completely sold out. It is now you're Chris Fries, which I wouldn't even say how many years you've been Chris Freeze, and now you're just like, you know what, Uncle. So
Now,
it's
okay, first
yes,
of all,
he is Chris Fries, and it hurts to say it. I hope your kids don't even know this about you.
first of all, I just want to say that I think with regard to the T-ball meltdown, I think I just missed nap time. Honestly,
Well,
I'm
but I remember my parents or my mom going like, John, just go, like, go away, go away from Chris's tantrum. I'm like, wait, Chris, I went on to go over there to see what you're yelling at this lady. So my mom just like steer away. Chris will be okay. He'll be okay. He'll come down.
okay, okay. I like looking out for my mental well-being, my
Yes,
mental health
he's
well-being.
okay. He's
Thank you.
just expressing
You know
himself.
what he did? He triggered me. That's what
Yeah.
he did. There you go.
Yeah,
I love
triggers
to
are
slip
cool
in a
now. They
trigger.
sure weren't there. I'm surprised you didn't get spanked in front of all those people. My dad's probably like,
I
all right, I'll
probably
do it. I'll do it.
probably did. I think my dad probably did. Definitely.
All right, so
But
where does
yeah,
Chris Fries see himself?
I I uh I don't think I will retire. Because I mean it's just because I can work when I want. I can, fit it, and I still, I find it enjoyable. It's easy enough to do. It's fulfilling. What do they say? You do what you love. You never have to work a day in your life. And I haven't had to work
Yeah.
since 2004, I guess. Then, so except for a couple of jail shifts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go back one last thing because you're totally self-sufficient now. And you said about 2000, like, say, I mean, you happen to be married and you're very lucky and your wife was making some good money so she can kind of like carry you for a little while. But
Yeah.
if you were all by yourself, when do you think you were self-sufficient? Like, how many years did it take to get you completely where, you could survive?
Yeah, yeah. I think, well, the big break came around 2008. From 2004 to 2008, I had the big break, but the big break didn't mean I was on easy street. So for another 2 years,
Hmm.
probably in that pocket, I was trying to capitalize on that breakthrough. And so it was probably 2010 where I, hit a stride, and then just the bookings and whatnot just kept on going exponentially. From there forward. So yeah, I'd say probably 2009 or 10, right in there.
Yeah, because it's so that would be some good advice, I think, for people that it wasn't overnight, and it took you that long to get to being completely self-sufficient. Um, I mean, would that be your kind of advice? So, what would be your big advice to someone who's out there thinking about, possibly getting into voice acting? What would say would the main things to think about?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's something I quickly found out. I was wanting success to come way faster than it did. I mean, who doesn't want it? Everybody, when you want
Mm.
something, you want it now, and of course, but I had to learn patience. I had to learn perseverance. And I also needed to learn to, kind of enjoy the journey too, because there's a lot of stress and anxiety through the whole thing too. And obviously, knowing, if I knew then it would work out okay, I'd enjoyed myself a little
Yeah.
bit more. But yeah, I think just understand it's a marathon, man. So pace
Mm.
yourself.
Oh, very good. I know the thing that always got me about your job was the fact that it was like every month it's a brand new slate. Like it's white clean. Like you're like the ultimate, you
Yeah.
know, uh, like one of those salesmen that's on the edge all the time. But I mean, luckily you've got reoccurring stuff. You mentioned about the History Channel. I think, you know, they should give you a bronze statue. I think they've been with you forever. So I mean that part's good.
Yeah. I was just saying,
No, no, go ahead.
you only, you only make money if you book, because it's not salaried, it's not hourly,
Yeah.
but it is, and it was early on. It's like, geez, am I gonna be able to get something going here? But, there's a lot of that's why, like, enjoy the journey would really kind of help. But, it is something new and different each day. But, yeah, once you kind of establish and you get into the circle of trust, as De Niro said in Meet the Parents. I'm
Mhm.
in the circle of trust. All's good, and I want to stay there.
Well, I have to say, everybody, when we talk about it and talking about you being a voice actor and, having a studio at home, I think everyone thinks you've got the greatest job in the world. So I can't imagine too many things better than that. They're like, well, he could work in his underwear. And I don't know if you work in your underwear, but that seems to be the focus of people I know. They're like, dude, I would work in my underwear. Dude, bro, what, dude? I don't even care about that.
Well, I'm
But
gonna stand up and shut. No, I'm
yeah,
not.
that's right. That's right. You never see me from below my chest, so I could be too.
Yeah,
But well, hey, thank you
everything's
very
just
much
cleared
for
up.
for yeah for being on the show and for taking this time. I think it's a lot of valuable information because, like I said, I had no clue about what it took until you went through it. So thank you very much for being on the show, Chris.
Hey, my pleasure. Anytime.
All right.